Welcome to Leader You by Black River Performance Management, where we believe work should fuel the human spirit, not drain it. In this leadership podcast, we will dive into the lived experiences of people flourishing in today's workplace and beyond. Join us to hear real-life examples of experiences from our own lives and from the leaders we know and trust. Successful organizations are dependent on people being competent in their job. To prepare people to do the work, we must prepare them according to the skills, knowledge, and abilities required for the job, correctly and consistently. One of the services Black River offers is evaluating employee and candidate competencies. Our 25 competency assessment focuses on the soft skills, or what we like to call them, essential skills. Our competency assessment is used for more accurate hiring practices as well as for staff development. Every organization could use these competencies to ensure an individual's skills match the soft skills required by the job, to nurture the right talent, to improve productivity, and to develop dynamic leaders. For a sample of the 25 leadership competencies, definitions, and assessment, email us at info@blackriverpm.com. Thank you for listening to the Leader You podcast. Today I have the pleasure of introducing a new friend of mine, Anca Platon Trifan. She is the dynamic CEO and strategist behind Tree-Fan Event LLC, a woman-led boutique event planning and production agency rooted in the Treasure Valley. Anca, a certified event professional and digital event strategist, is an acclaimed leader in the industry, earning multiple awards, including the 2023 Smart Women in Meetings Award, 40 Under 40 Biz Bash Connect Corporate Meetings 2022, and the 2022 #Women to Watch. She also won the 2021 Quickest Virtual Entry Pivot Award for her ability to adapt and innovate swiftly. Beyond her leadership role at Tree-Fan Event LLC, Anca is a producer and host of the top technology podcast for #Event Profs, Events Demystified podcast, and the founder of the online community Women Behind the Scenes in Events, Tech and Prod. She has co-authored several books and is an engaging speaker, which I've gotten to actually witness, MC, entrepreneur, and she fervently advocates for women in tech-focused industries on stages around the world. Complementing her professional pursuits, Anca is a natural bodybuilding competitor and first-place winner, passionately promoting mental and physical fitness among entrepreneurs and women in business and event professionals. Please welcome Anca. I'm so excited for this conversation. I'm ready to dive in and get your wisdom.
Well, Angie, thank you so much for inviting me, actually. It's such an honor to be here. And I was just listening to the previous podcast episode that you recorded with a big fan of mine, Diane. And I was like, I can't believe that I'm actually invited to speak, in line with all these amazing women in our, community. And yeah, the pleasure is definitely on my side.
Thank you. Well, the reason I had you on the podcast is I've gotten to know you recently over a couple of women's events that we've both been asked to speak at. And I feel like I've heard about you through the Idaho Nonprofit Center. You've done some work with a lot of nonprofits, and so have we. But I actually got the pleasure of working with you at a women's conference in Boise, 2 of them recently in the past year, where we were both speakers, and you were actually running one of them and speaking. And I just really fell in love with you in a way that I'm like, man, she's cool, and she's just fun to be around. She's a lot of good energy, and I think we really connect on a lot of different ways as far as we like the research-based approach to leadership and what we're doing, and always continuously learning, staying curious, and just being the best that we can to help empower other women as well.
And one more thing that I feel like, Angie, when I heard you say it for the first time, I was like, she's my girl. Like, we both have a high, what do you call it? F factor.
FU factor? Yes, I have a high FU factor. Is that what you love?
I was like, oh, okay. You know what? I'm right along there with you, girl.
Yes, I'm a lot kinder with it, but there's also a place
Right.
of where it's just like, yeah. No, you
I
can't
think
tell me
as
what
you
I can't do.
grow into your maturity as an adult, you're
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm a little bit more softer on the edges, but at the core of the things, it's still there.
Yeah, when your counselor tells you you're not smart enough to go to college, that is a thing where you can have a high FU factor. Not listening to
Absolutely.
those types of things. But I would say it usually it has to do with somebody telling me I can't do something and putting a ceiling or putting me in a
That's for
box.
sure when I'm going to prove you wrong.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So let's just start out with your story and how you got to doing this. Like, did you plan on doing this as a profession when you were a little girl?
No, as a matter of fact, I remember being a little girl. First off, I'm the oldest of 10 girls. And I think that's another thing how I connect with Diane on her, her storyline, because she's also like one of six. And I can totally identify with what it's like to feel like you have to, you know, uh, gain a voice when there's so much going on, all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And growing up, what I really wanted to become was really an architect. For some reason, I was really drawn into the technicality and the creativity that profession seemed to bring together in this, unison way. And that was my goal. Unfortunately, I couldn't afford to go to, an engineering architecture school, which was quite expensive, where I was growing up. And my parents couldn't afford to put me through school. So I had to start working from a very young age, support myself through school, also support some of my siblings. So it was something that I always wanted to do and I never got to. But I feel like in so many ways, a lot of the skills that I'm using today go very much hand in hand with what I wanted to be. It wasn't necessarily the label that I knew that this was something for women in a business like event production, audiovisual technology wasn't really on my list of things. But I came to actually work in a radio of all places in high school and college, and I was given an opportunity, and that's when I fell in love with the technical side. And many years later is when, as I was looking back at my journey, I'm like, how come I don't have a podcast? Because I love doing radio, So it took me a while to like grow into all these things that I've had attention to over the years. And funny thing is, I graduated in computer science, and only now, like since COVID, really, I started using my computer skills in the IT, AI, and all the other, areas that, doing all these virtual events, and it required a lot of programming, knowing some computer science didn't hurt. So all of that, I feel like sometimes we do things and we don't really always see the big picture to understand how it will all come together to really support the journey that you're on and to add to the fullness of who you become. And so that's kind of like my story, where I had little bits of things just like added on. And from an outside perspective, you'd be like, this makes no sense. Like, I don't I don't get it. And the same way, like sometimes even today, I feel somewhat misunderstood when I'm all about event production, but then I'm also about diversity in AV and female representation, but then I'm also about mental and physical fitness, and then a natural bodybuilder. So sometimes people get a little confused. It's like, okay, girl, like pick a topic. I'm like, but I can't, because I'm passionate about all of those things. And those things are the things that make me who I am. And I can't just say I'm only passionate about event productions when I'm also passionate about technology, about my physical fitness and mental fitness, and also how much that has helped me to become, a business owner and run a business and do all the things that I do. That supports all of that. So it's, it might not make sense from the outside, but if you start diving in and you see that it's actually all interconnected somehow, somewhere.
Oh, I see it.
So yeah.
I see it. And people try to tell me, well, who's your ideal client? What's your audience? I'm like, no. That I don't fit into one of those. And I can't do that either. I'm just going to do what is me and most authentically me, and I'll attract the right things. But yeah, it can be confusing for people, like wondering, what is it that you actually do? Because you speak and then you know, all of these things, and then your topics. And I
I
totally
guess
relate.
people that love to be in boxes,
Uh-huh.
that's what they want to see, the box that you fit in. And I hate boxes. Like, don't put me in a box because for sure I'm going to crush it. So I want to be able to make my own version of what that looks like. And then even then, I'll take it and say, you know what, this doesn't fit me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'll figure something out. I'm always constantly growing as a person
Mm-hmm.
and as a professional. So how do you expect me to be the same person that I was, I don't know, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago?
Yeah. I would hate to be the same person I was 10 years ago, 15 years, right? Like we're always continually evolving, growing, and learning. And that's some of you've done the leadership competencies, and we identified a few of your top ones, and continuous learning is one, obviously there's a lot more, but continuous learning is one of your top skills, right?
Yeah,
And so, and that's
definitely.
evident because, you were speaking on AI at the last conference, at the Women in Leadership Conference.
Yeah.
And I unfortunately didn't get to see that, but I will get to see the recording. I'm excited to watch that. But yeah, AI is one of those things that, you are you're ahead of the curve. You're actually educating people on something that's so new to most of us.
Yeah.
So can you speak to that a little bit? Like how you went down that path? Obviously it's in your wheelhouse, but give us our listeners who might not know anything about AI or just have fears around it. Like, what could you share about that?
I love the fact that, we constantly learn something new. Like for me in my profession, I feel like the reason why I'm in event production and technology, and now, definitely diving deep into AI tools for business, for events, and just for productivity in general, it's because uh, there's so much opportunity to learn new things. I've always been fascinating with learning new things in all areas. And a lot of it is self-taught.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I decided that I wanted to become a sound engineer, I didn't right away just go to school. I started studying. Like I took all the books in the library I could find. I went and took all the, all the opportunities that I could work for free to volunteer and learn hands-on. And then once I kind of sort of understood the concept of sound engineering and sound, and there's like a whole acoustical engineer part of this, of this thing that we're doing right now, like this conversation that people don't even have any idea about. But once I got to understand that, then I was like, okay, now I want to go to school and learn even more.
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't enough. Like I wanted to learn more. And the same thing I apply for everything else. Like COVID happened. And for most people, that just meant like going out of business. Like when your events are nowhere to be found, like what do? A lot of event planners struggled, and they literally started like looking at other areas, like where can I put my skills to flourish, and what area can I go to? And many became other things, and then they were happy with what they were and they stayed there. Me, it was like, okay, I have the skill set and I can figure this out. If I need to become a video engineer now, that's what I'm going to be. And I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to teach myself how to run this video production software and that video production software and all of those things, and become this new version, elevated version of myself, of this professional that now is able to offer a service to a lot of people that were like kind of like in freeze mode, like what do we do now, right? But once you start to realize that actually has implication in your speaking engagement, like you go and speak, and if you don't have these things lined up for your presentation to show you the best in the best light possible, then that will have implications, right, on how you deliver the message. So there's little things that you can do, and the same way with AI tools, there's little things that you can apply to your everyday workflow so that you become more productive. And because a lot of the things that I do, and I wear a lot of hats, it's important for me to gain hours in the day wherever I can. So then I can use the free time that I have and place it into bodybuilding. Because I mean, I only have 24 hours like everybody else.
Yes.
And yes, sleep sometimes comes at the cost of doing all those things. So if there's ways, shortcuts that I can use, and that means, implementing some of those apps, plugins, prompters for in the AI space, I'll be the first one to sign up for and teach you about. And if you want to do it, I'm all for it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're like, no, 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 I'm not there yet, that's fine. We all have our own timing.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like a lot of people stay too much in that. Let's wait and see what happens. And then it passes them by,
Yeah.
and then things are so fast forward that you just can't catch up, and it's important to sort of like I keep saying, staying in step with technology, because like think about when you have kids, right? As you raise them, you want to be able to understand what they're doing. Like if they're on a tablet all day long, like what are they doing on that tablet?
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand what's happening? Like my mom, like I tried to teach her to get on WhatsApp so we can communicate, FaceTime with the kids, and it took her like years. And I mean, it's one app that you got to open with one camera. How hard can it be? But it's because the fact that all this time she stood away and didn't want to deal with technology. That's not for me. I'm too old for this.
Mm-hmm.
And now she's forced to learn new things, and it takes her such a long time to do the like easiest of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if we're going to look at what the next 20 years look like, if you are afraid to just use one simple app, what are you going to do in this new
World,
view,
this
like
whole new
world
world.
that
Yeah.
we're living, we're going to go into
You're going to
at
have to
this
upskill.
point?
You're going to have to upskill yourself. There's a lot of new
100%.
skills that we're going to need to learn.
And I want to be the mom, the cool mom that understands what my kids are doing when they're like 20 and 30, and they can speak to me in ways that we can have a conversation versus I don't understand one word that they're saying and it's English.
Right. Yes, that's a lot. There's so much to unpack there. I could have went down so many rabbit holes with you on that because I was like, oh, like I connect with you. Just hearing your story, I connect with so many different things. And I have a son that's an event coordinator in Boise, but he's at Boise State. And then they have a wedding planning business as well, and I just think about what those people went through during COVID, and then and knowing many of my friends that own event planning and wedding and things like that, and yeah, you're right. What I love that you say and that you pointed out is that you were ready for whatever you needed to do, because I bet you at some point you worked for somebody else, right?
I did, yes.
And that's scary in itself, just quitting a job, a safe job, right?
Yeah.
This is a conversation that's come up today. And it's like, is it really safe anyways, right? Like being an entrepreneur is risky, but so is staying inside of something that's comfortable, right? And so
I think there's a lot of things to that because like first off, like if you feel like you're giving your all and you're still somewhat unsatisfied, you need to start making your bed somewhere else. But don't just like, jump ship. Like start working on this side before you decide, okay, I'm going to move on. And that's what I did. I feel like I saw the signs. I saw how I'm doing this work and I'm really good at it, but it's just got into this place where I'm no longer passionate. And for me, passion, it's something that it's so important because once I lost the passion for whatever it is, for whomever it is, I'm done. I'm out of there. Like, bye, So for me, when I started realizing that I no longer have the same drive and the same passion for what I was doing, I felt like it was a disservice to my employee, but also employer as an employee, but also to myself.
To your
so
soul.
I started
To
working
your
on my
soul,
brand.
right?
To my soul,
To your
exactly.
soul.
Like I don't want to live in a dead end place and just because I get a paycheck and call it good. Like that's not what I'm put on this earth for, So I started working on my brand and building that. I didn't know where that was going to go.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm just going to build this and see what happens. And there came a time when I was like, this is the only thing that I had. And that's what pushed me forward. Because now I had something to, lean on. And I feel like sometimes a lot of people put all their eggs in one basket and they just hope that it will work out. I love to have contingency plan upon contingency plan when it comes to my events. And so is with my life.
Right.
You have to have some kind of a backup plan, and whatever that is for you. I mean, for me, like right now, if you were to tell me, Anca, you've got to quit your AV production business today, I'd be like, you know what? No problem. I've got two other avenues I can go like 100% without one as hesitation
Mm-hmm.
because I've already started building the
Right.
roadblocks for that.
And you added something that I think is super important, that is not to just jump ship right away. You have to go volunteer. You have to go get people to mentor you. You need to start.
Yes.
You need to start being willing to show up and say yes to things that you might not get paid for at first. I had to do that too.
And humble.
And
enough.
humble enough. Yeah. To show up, to learn as much as you can, to volunteer on boards, to get people, to ask people for help, see how they might help you. And then, it took me probably 2 years to cultivate enough business that I thought I could leave teaching in higher ed, right? And another thing that you touched on that I resonated with was so many things, but one that's coming to mind right now is we also say that we demystify leadership concepts because we do use research-backed approaches for leadership, but we have to demystify it so that somebody can understand how to use it and where's a model, how do I do it? Because we talk about things in such simple terms as if, it's really easy, just do this, but it's not that. It's more complicated than that. And so when we can break things down and demystify, like you said, and speak a common language that everybody else is speaking, that is where your value is as well. And I think that's one thing where we are in our own spaces doing that, demystifying complex things and bringing them to the regular people so that they can put them into practice. We're the
100%.
in-betweeners. We're the
when
in-betweeners.
I came up with a name to the podcast and I used this word that's not used often, like everybody was kind of like raising their like eyebrows, like, who talks like that? But then the essence of the word is exactly what you just said. And I'm like, I don't see any other way to how to explain this because that's what I'm going after. And because again, it kind of goes with my why, and we didn't start with that because I love to start with that. But basically, it's like I'm deeply rooted in this belief that everyone, including me and you, has potential for greatness.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just give people a chance, if you just, demystify what that might look like for them. And I feel like you're doing that so well in the leadership circles and in all those workshops that you lead. And I've been part of quite a few of your talks, and that just means you believe in people, that they have the capacity to be more of who they are. If only they could demystify what that looks like, if they could see the map, if they could actually see the steps, right?
Yeah.
And that's what in my niche, that's what I want to be more like, unlock this potential for people to see beyond that event, to see beyond whatever it is that I'm talking about, the educational, may that be the AI tools for business workshop, or maybe sharing my journey, my, bodybuilding journey, see beyond that and see themselves in maybe that, like in a healthy state. I have so many people actually reach out to me randomly. Like I would just go to a networking event because I just want to, catch up with some friends. And I have people come left and right from places that I'm like, I don't know them, but they say things like, I've watched you for a few years. I've seen your journey and I'm so inspired by it because even though, I don't necessarily, people don't always comment on your LinkedIn post or your Facebook post, but they watch, and they're like, I wish I could be that consistent and motivated and, like passionate about something. Like I see that you draw so much passion from what you do. And my only response to that is, but you can. Like you really can.
I love that. And this is another area where we're jiving. Okay. We are jiving. And it is that our belief, we say we're discovering Idaho gems. I really believe that everybody is a gem in the workplace, but many need to be polished. They need to be picked up. Like myself, I needed a jackhammer. to be
Not the only one.
to be
I do learn things the hard way, trust me, girl.
I love to learn.
I can teach you the easy way if you listen and if you're willing to. But me,
I had to learn the hard way.
Let's try the hard way first.
Yes, and so you can relate to some people need a jackhammer, some people just need to be picked up and brushed off and they shine. But everybody does have potential. They all have purpose, they all have value, and we're missing that. And so this is why I know we're aligned in what we're doing and how we can help each other as women business owners and as elevating just our society and our families and our communities that is the important work. And that's what I'm passionate about too. And that's why, I mean, that's why we hit it off right when we met. And I'm just so happy that we're having this conversation, because I can feel your passion through a computer screen. Like, I feel the energy, right?
Imagine seeing me in person. Maybe sometimes I'm too much. Okay. I've been told that too.
Yeah, well, you don't need to put on a lampshade for me. You're not too much. You can shine as bright as you want.
I came to terms with that. And you know what? I'm not for everyone. And there's people that don't like me just because I have too much, and I am too much. And that's totally okay.
Yeah.
There's so many other people you can connect with, and they will receive who you are as you are. And you don't have to pretend to be something else. And I think it took me years to come to this place, because for the longest time, actually, I've tried to hide who I was, because I was trying so hard to fit in and just belong and just be like everyone, vanilla colored everyone. And I'm like, and the inside of me would be like scream, it's like, but you've got to get out. Like, you have to let it out, and I'm like, but I'm so afraid. What if they don't like me? Like, what if they don't like me, right? Like, who doesn't
They won't
want to
anyway.
be liked by
Some
people?
won't though anyways.
But then at the end of the day, I'm like, but who are those people that I'm trying to please so hard? Like, who are they?
Who are they? I get it.
Exactly.
I get that. And I did a lot of hiding myself, and trying to make other people not feel uncomfortable with my presence as well. And I'm done doing that. Because it didn't feel good. I call it uncaged, because, Leon, right? Little lion. So it's like,
yes.
There's this coming out of the
I love that analogy. It so goes with your name.
Yeah, it's like, you can stay in the cage because it's comfortable. Or you can break out, you can break free. The door's already unlocked. It's like, how much do we just stay inside that cage because we're afraid? What are people going to think? And what if this? And what if I take that leap? And what if I quit this job? And people do have things to say. They have opinions. But it's okay. It's really all okay, because, as you said, you will attract more people on your energy frequency. You're on a frequency that you're going to attract more of that in your life. Versus being in that fearful mode, you're going to attract more of that fear into your life.
And let me try to say one more thing here, just to add to that, because you're so right. When you're trying to please someone, because, or, a group of people, whatever it is, like your workplace, maybe, who knows, like your family members, like we all have family members that are just so hard to please, right?
Yes.
But if you're trying so hard to please them, you will not be happy. You will not have the same amount of joy, because you'll constantly be in this sort of like place of defensive mode, like always double guessing everything and never letting your full self to be the best version of what it could be, because constantly you're looking at what if they're gonna be offended by this, what if they don't like how I dress, what if. And I come from a very traditional background, very deep in like almost like a religious fanatism, and I had to fight against a lot of the things that I grew up with, and it were just my baggage, like cultural baggage, religious baggage, all the things, right? And I started questioning. That's where I think my curiosity got me into a lot of trouble, because like I wanted to find out how other people live.
Right.
I wanted to know like what's outside the borders. Like when I got on an airplane, and I kid you not, I had like about $100-something in my pocket. And I talk about this on my podcast. And I got everything I had was in one suitcase. And I said, this world that I'm leaving behind is too small for me. I want to go and see what else is out there. And I'm going to find out. And I'm not sure how. Like I had no plan. Like I'm just going to end up to this land of opportunities, and like it's the land of opportunities. I'm sure I'm going to find an opportunity somehow, somewhere, right? So I stepped into the unknown. And then I figured it out one day at a time. Like, I didn't have a plan for 10 years. I didn't say, okay, so now day one in US. From here on, by the time it's day 30, I'm going to do this. No, I don't have that kind of a plan, right?
No.
Like now it's easier. Like I'm more stable. I have, a lot of things going for me, and I can make a plan for like 5 years. What's your 5-year plan? What's your 10-year plan? And sometimes I would just laugh and giggle at people asking those questions, because I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to figure out one day at a time. Ask me
Exactly.
tomorrow.
And I won't even be the same person in 10 years. So how would I know what I want?
Exactly.
Right? I won't be the same person I am in 10 years because I'm continuously learning and growing. So any goal I have for 10 years from now, I mean, I'd ultimately like to see what I'd like to leave at the end of my life. What's most important?
Absolute legacy.
Legacy.
All about that.
And that piece. So relationships, that's obviously my most important thing. But then what else is going to, I wanted to be a marine biologist when I was a little girl. And I still may get an opportunity. Like there may be a time where I'm letting turtles go free and it's in my second career or my second phase of life. I don't know.
Absolutely.
I might still get that opportunity.
I love when I hear stories from people that literally they're in their 50s and they 100% change career path and they pursue something that they always wanted to pursue. But up until that moment, they were just going on this path that was somewhat predestined for them by, cultural, maybe family background or who knows what else, But then they finally get to this point in life when they realize, I don't have enough days left in this lifetime to keep doing something that does not set my soul on fire. Like I better pursue the things that I'm really passionate about and just do the things that I know that if I am not gonna do those, that would be the one regret I have in life, right? I don't want to live with regrets. Like when you talk to me, 50, 60 years from now, Angie, I want you to ask me, Anca, do you have any regrets that you haven't done what you said yourself to do? And I want to say, no, not even one regret, because I've done it all. I went full steam into it. Sometimes I had to come back from it and be like, well, that was a lesson learned. Let's not do that again. Yeah, but at least I gave it my all,
Not only that, but based on the World Regret Survey, we do know that people actually regret the things they didn't do on their deathbed much more than the mistakes that they went for.
Yeah.
People don't regret failing.
That gives me chills.
Yeah, me too. I just got him too. That's awe. Yeah. No, people really, look it up, the World Regret Survey and the Power of Regret by Daniel Pink. Yeah. When they survey people around the world, they say, what you regret, people on their deathbed, is literally the chances, the person they didn't ask out on the date, the person they didn't ask to marry them, the business they didn't start. That is the stuff that, and I don't believe about going through life with no regrets, because it's like that tattoo, no regrets, huh? Where
right.
it's
I mean, it's more cliche, right?
Cliche.
Yeah, of course I'm gonna have some regrets,
but not for stuff you didn't do, right?
Yeah.
For things that you were too afraid to do, or were just living somebody else's script, I call it, or somebody else's. Since we're talking about a journey, how about it's somebody else's roadmap that doesn't fit today? So oftentimes your family or you can call it a script or you could call it a roadmap, but their map doesn't fit today, and they're trying to have you live by their map in today's different culture, and it's a different map. There's new roads, there's new avenues, stuff that applied 20, 30, 40 years ago.
100%. So like I'm actually in the middle of something right now with my family where, I haven't lived with them for 20 something years.
Where are they right now?
And they think I'm the same. They're in Romania. A large part of my family is still in Romania or parts of Europe. And they still believe that I'm the same person that I was like 20 something years. And I am so far removed from that reality. And they're trying to fit me in this world that they think I should fit in. And I had to set some boundaries. And let me tell you, like setting boundaries with your family is the hardest thing you're ever going to do.
Oh, yeah. It's so relatable on so many levels, but
my life, but you have no say in my family life. You have no say in my business. You have no say in my financials. You don't have no say in the way I hear myself. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't go and interfere with that part of your life. Please don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. So you have to be, first off, I think you have to be very solid on who you are
Mm-hmm.
and what are the things that you stand for and the things that you don't. And then it's clear when somebody's trying to interfere with parts of you that you already know that there is separation. It's like the separation that it should exist in government, between uh, things that we're not going to talk into because I
Yeah.
want to go into politics. But that's what I mean. Like, there has to be some kind of a separation between the things that we care about, the things that you can speak in my life because I gave you permission, versus you're just going to go on a rant about something that it's not helpful. Like, it's really not going to change anything.
And it's not
And
going
I
to
feel
draw you
like
closer.
a lot of people do that online with other people's lives.
Yes.
Like keyboard warriors left and right. Social media is
Yes.
notorious for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh gosh. Let's kind of shift gears now. Fitness and health and mental health and fitness. This is something we both also believe in. I'm not in the bodybuilder space, but I've been an athlete my whole life, and like I love.
Well, I can tell by your arms. Like, you're showing guns today, but notice them.
I do like to go to the gym a little bit, and I like to work out. To be honest, it actually I call it burning off the crazy.
Yes.
Because I have, I think it really helps me mentally. I know it helps my mental health, and a lot of mental health illness runs in my family. And it's not lost on me knowing that. And it's a protective mechanism for me keeping my mental health. And also, I want to be an old person. I'm looking at myself down the road. I'm 50 now, so I'm getting closer to the grave. But we
don't know. It could be 50 years from now.
Yeah, it could be.
As we're concerned, right?
But my parents died at 52 and 62. They lived some pretty rough lives. So I'm just trying to do things a little bit different. And I'm really into like Peter Attia and the Huberman Lab and understanding.
Yeah, that's the only podcast I listen to. I don't even listen to my own podcast
Me either.
as much as I listen to that.
I'm so boring until I have amazing guests. I'm just like, I don't want to hear myself. I want to hear the guests. If I could just cut myself out and hear my guests, that'd be great.
I love it.
But so how does this physical and mental health, taking care of that, fall into leadership, business, leading your family? I don't care if you have a business or anything, leading your family, leading your friends, just leading yourself. How do you see that?
That's a fantastic question, because I think for the longest time, I didn't attribute the mental fitness to the physical fitness to the degree that it deserves to be attributed. And I didn't see it as in, a cohesive part of kind of like goes hand in hand. But then COVID happened and COVID broke, I feel like, a lot of parts of us that, or maybe it brought us to realize that we have parts of us that needed fixing or needed some kind of healing. And we just tried to ignore it for the longest time. And just like, a lot of people, I was just throwing under the rug a lot of things that I just didn't want to deal with. Like, it's easier to ignore versus to actually, take it head on. But then COVID brought all this solitude and isolation that when you're alone with yourself, with your own thoughts, that's when you start getting scared.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of things that I haven't dealt with for a very long time. And I need to figure it out. Like, I need to figure out how, and I'm a fixer. Like me, like I see a problem, I gotta fix it. I saw myself as the problem at this point, and I'm like, how will I fix myself? Like, I need to fix myself. I had all kinds of like emotional attachment issues and anger issues and just things that were unresolved, trauma from childhood that was unresolved. And I remember talking to a therapist, because I also, yes, I can fix myself, but there's limits to how much I can fix myself. So I was talking to a therapist, and we both realized that there's this part of it, this little girl that was just wanting to be heard, and I never like allowed her to have a voice. Like I would always try to overpower her and just shove her in the back and be like, shut up, you're what you say, you're not. But she just wanted to be more present. Like, I am you. You need to understand that I am, you have to hear me out, right? So until those two versions of me, the past, the present, the future, became one, I I was such a like disintegrated person. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like it's almost like you live a different people's lives, and you just can't find balance. And bodybuilding was basically investing into my physical fitness, burning a lot of that internal frustration that I couldn't put my hand on it, and just going through the emotions, processing. Like I would literally have a session with my therapist and go into the gym and process through everything that was taught. And sometimes I would like, do squats and cry. And sometimes I would do push-ups and sing, or like just express the things that were inside of me that I try so hard to suppress, but then they would come out at the wrong time. Disciplined person, but then I had no control over a part of me, and that part of me I needed to figure out what's happening there. So I worked on my mental while my body was getting work. And there's actually science, if you listen to Andrew Huberman long enough, you realize how important physical fitness is, movement, to just get your brain working properly, and just to get every system, everything that you are in the best working condition. And I'm reading a book right now that is so good. It's called Spark, and it goes in that science, like the brain science behind the neuroscience behind a physical exercise, and what it does for your brain, like how it gives you like a longer lifespan. But it's so interesting to me to see how my brain works at that level. So now I understand. It's like, no, actually rest is important, not because everybody says that it is, because there is science backing it up. So many words, mental and physical fitness for me aren't just, those nice to haves. They're really critical elements that fuel effective leadership. Let's start with, the physical aspect, right? Like if we're talking about the physical aspect, when you're physical fit, you're essentially building a stronger vessel for your work, and you have more energy, more stamina, you're less prone to illness. Who doesn't want to be that? All essential when you're leading a team or you're running a business. Or on my and I'm traveling a lot for events. I'm gone and I'm in this hotel and that hotel and that hotel, and I'm eating when I can and what I can. It's like, it's a lot for your body. If you don't have stamina, if you don't have health to maintain that lifestyle, it can take you out fast. You really want to make this body, the one body that you have, become a reliable asset, not a limitation, not a liability. A lot of people live in a body that's a liability, and that doesn't help anyone. So you're investing in your present self, but also your future self, because you're giving yourself the tools you need to go that extra mile, not just literally, but metaphorically as well. But then the mental fitness that I mentioned, how for the longest time I didn't necessarily associate it with physical fitness. It's all about, how leadership, it's all about emotional intelligence and mental resilience and strategic thinking. Well, a well-exercised mind is more capable of handling stress and making tough decisions and staying level-headed in like high pressure scenarios. And again, coming to my parallel with my event business, and sometimes you're behind the scenes and things don't work, and you're like minutes to go live, and you just have to figure out, but you have to stay calm under pressure. There's a lot of people watching you. You can't freak out like you. And even if you could, it doesn't help the situation, because your brain won't work at the same capacity if you start freaking out. Like you really need to logically think, like, what's the next step? Like, what's the next best thing I can do to solve this problem, right? So you have to really practice that mental resilience, to gain that resilience. And for me, that was through physical fitness, so that you have the ability to be cool under pressure, be self-aware, also be able to lead, in a cool, collected way. And especially for someone like we females, I feel like we have a more emotional bandwidth that we can, like a scale that we can be on. So we really need to be able to tame that and keep it under control, especially when you're in a high stake situation. But when you start understanding your triggers, your biases, then you're really better equipped to manage not just your business, your everyday operations, but a diverse group of people and inspire them to do their best work. So it goes hand in hand. It has to go hand in hand. It's like a symbiotic relationship. And when your body feels good, your mind is sharper. And when your mind is in a good place, then it's also easy to take care of your body. So it's almost like this loop that it
Virtuous.
just goes. And obviously,
It's an
we have to
spiral.
add spiritual health, to that as well. And mindfulness and all those things. But to be sustaining leadership in a way that has long-term runaway, then you have to take care of both of those things. And then through your doing, like I see how I inspire my kids to be more active. My little one, she takes her little 1 pound dumbbells and says, "Mom, let's go work out together." She's literally 6. Well, she's going to be 7 this weekend. She keeps reminding me that she's 7 now. But it's like, I love that I inspire her to want to be physical fit and to want to invest in her body. And she's just a child, right? Like I don't make her do push-ups or things like that, but I see her willingness because she sees me, and that gives me the hope that she's going to prioritize that as she grows up, and she's going to be aware, of her body, of her emotions, and just give it the attention that it requires. Because a lot of us women, especially, we put ourselves on the last place because we take care of everything else, of everyone else. And then there's us, if there's time left. And in most cases, there isn't. So prioritizing your wellness, prioritizing your mental and physical fitness are really going to carry you the long way into the future, not just in the today, the present, in the best shape possible. It's really like your investment into your future.
Oh yeah, I love that. So Peter Attia, you were talking about a lot of the things that he talks about in his book called Outlive. And he's a longevity specialist, and what he talks about is health span, which is different than lifespan. And the health span is literally how healthy you are for the rest of your life. Who cares if you live to be 100 and you can't take care of yourself?
Yeah, but if you're like gonna be for 25 years in on the bed, like how is that quality of life?
Yes. And so how increasing our health span, and then there's the whole mental piece of it too. And it actually, they're showing it helps with Alzheimer's. It's so important. And our emotional fitness, in one whole chapter, he says that if you don't manage that, then it's the one area that it actually derailed him. And, he
derailed me big time in 2020. Let me tell you all about it another time.
So I really think it's something that we need to be thinking about. It's definitely something that I'm practicing, but it's something that they all are intertwined. It isn't, they're not separate. We are one human being, and all of what we're doing is synchronous. It's a synchronicity.
Yes.
And so I think that you're leaving us with a really inspired message that, like, staying curious, right? Continuous learning, understanding that you learn better when you take care of your body. You learn better, you handle your emotions better. I would have to say on the sleep front, that's one thing I would say, do not skip out on, because now the research is even showing so much about how important your sleep hygiene is and how that will help with emotional intelligence, how it will help with so many things. And Peter Attia actually goes into, he was raised in a culture in surgery, and sleep was for weak people and things like that. And he actually talks about how it actually brought him down. And he almost lost everything. It's an incredible book. I would definitely recommend Outlive. It's changed a lot of how I'm taking care of myself, how my husband and I are taking care of ourselves, because we want to increase our health span. And that means, and that's also increasing the way we show up for our clients. It's the way we show up for our families. And it is actually not that hard when somebody's created a roadmap for you. Like you said, I had been in the fitness background, like I'd been a personal trainer before. I understand it all, but the reality is different phases of life are different, and different things are important as it relates to fitness. At this point in my life, all I want to do is be healthy, be able to move, feel good in my clothes, feel like I have energy, be able to do the things I want to do. I want to be able to zip line. I want to be able to hike up that mountain. I want to be able to get up off the ground. I want to be able to lift my own luggage. I want to be able to move and function independently and not hurt all the time, right?
So Angie, if you just talked about all these benefits, if you yourself, saw all those benefits, as someone that's been, in the fitness world, why is it that a lot of people don't invest in it? Like, what's your opinion on that? Just curious to hear your thoughts.
I think that oftentimes they're fearful of looking dumb, not knowing what to do, not having like a coach or something, or not being able to afford maybe a personal trainer or to get them started. And the gym can be a very intimidating person for somebody who feels not very good in their own skin at that point. I think also they make a lot of excuses about their time and what time they have, but they have time, they just don't prioritize it well. Because we all have the same amount of time, right? But I mean, I bet you if I looked at your screen and took off 2 hours of screen time, you would have 2 hours to prep your food, eat well, and go to the gym. So
100%.
So I think we rely on our excuses. I think that people are fearful and they need somebody to help them. Like take them to the gym, show them how to do it, read a book. Somebody gives a roadmap. So my husband's been really geeking out on Peter Attia's podcast. He's obsessed. And
so is my husband with both of them. It's like, I feel like they should be best friends.
Yeah. So he's like writing down, I learned this. He's got a notebook and so he's writing it down and he's learning. He's like, I think we'll try this. And it's also been a really fun bonding thing for him and I to do together is like, all right, we're going to do push and pull and we're going to do this and we're going to, and it's like this next 6 weeks, we're going to do this. So we're getting time together too.
That's awesome.
So I think, but I would say that season of life where your kids are a little bit younger, it can be a challenge for women.
It's rough.
Yeah.
For sure.
But I do love things like Beachbody and things where people could do stuff at home, or they got YouTube, or they've got
or get your girlfriends to go and join a class or do something together where you also feel like you get that socializing time,
and go on walks and hikes when you can. And so that's a season. But often once that season's over, then the habits have set in. If like you said, if you're not doing it,
if you didn't cultivate it,
if you didn't cultivate it, then it just kind of starts to go by the wayside. So what do you think it is?
I feel like all those reasons that you just mentioned are, definitely some type of a stoppers. Also, I feel like we maybe have to make it more welcoming for people to just come and try things at the gym. Like I remember, I've never been afraid to just walk into a gym and just do something, but not having a strategy wasn't helpful in the long term. And for the longest time, like I was always going to the gym, always doing something, but I had no strategy behind my workouts. I had no vision, or no way of tracking what I was doing. So just because you go into the gym and you decide to hit, like somebody was saying the other day, and I love giving people pointers, I can literally set up a 3 days a week workout for you in no time, because now I know what works. And now I know the strategy, progressive overload, how important it is as you're doing your motions. But I would go into the gym and try to hit all the, muscles and then leave sore and then not come for 3 days because I'm like so sore and I'm dead, and then come back and then try to do that again. It was just like no strategy whatsoever. So I feel like it's important to have a strategy. Speak to someone that can guide you in a direction. Like you might not have my 5 days a week workout, 7 days a week cardio schedule that I'm on because I'm obviously on track for something. But you might just want to invest 3 days a week. That's plentiful. Like do that, stick with that, but still have a program, something that you follow, something that you track. Like nowadays you have your phone with you everywhere. It's so easy to just use a Google spreadsheet. Like you don't need some fancy app. Like there's definitely lots of apps out there, but you need to just kind of keep track of what you did, on Monday, what you're going to do on Wednesday, what you're going to do on Friday, so that you see some kind of progress. Because let me tell you, seeing progress is the best motivator you're ever gonna get. Like a lot of people say, I don't have the motivation. Well, when you start seeing clothes looking better on you and that shape like looking like it's supposed to look, that's when you're going to be like, but this is working. Now I feel so much better in my own skin. I'm definitely going to spend time on this because it's working versus, I'm just going to keep doing like throw things at the wall and see what sticks. And then you're like, nothing is working. Fitness is not for me. I tried it all. You hear those people, like, but have you really?
Have you really? Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's a constant journey, but it is true. Find a roadmap. Find somebody that is doing it well. Ask them to give you pointers. People have access to you. There's so many people.
You see me on social media posting a workout. Do DM me and ask me, Anca, what was that workout? How can I do it? Because I will tell you, I promise you, I will tell you. Why am I like so big on glutes and hammies?
Yeah.
Because first off, like it looks good. We can all have a booty. I mean, obviously, some of us are born with it, others not so much, but you can grow it for sure.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, like, this is how you build that. And you also don't be like, it's about eating well. Like, we can say, like, it's just about movement and exercise and workout, but it's also about nutrition. Like, if you go and put all this energy into the gym and then the next stop is McDonald's, the two might not go hand in hand that well, right?
They're not in alignment.
Like you really have to also watch your nutrition and feed your body quality food. Like we even, touch on good nutrition, but that's just as important. And it goes with the brain food, and it goes with like increasing that health span that you just mentioned.
Absolutely. Wow, so many things that we have went over today. Like, I feel like I could just keep talking to you for so long.
That's another episode where we just talk about movement, meals, and mindfulness.
Yeah. And I think we need to do a class on AI. There's so many ways that we can connect. And
I do have a link that I can share with your audience if they want to actually rewatch the one workshop that I just did. I got so much feedback on that one, and I guess it was really helpful for our leaders, women in business, or just starting to evolve in that world. So I can share that with your audience, and then they can preview it on their own timing and apply whatever works for them and go from there.
I appreciate it. And I love working with you, getting to be side by side in the communities. And I hope there's more opportunities for us to work together and help people change their lives and create roadmaps for people to do that.
100%. And, I feel like the synergy that we have is such a good one that for sure is going to happen. Like you just spoke that
into the universe. It's happening.
It's going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah. And you plan events, so I'm pretty sure you can create some things you want.
There you have it.
There you have it.
Sometimes, the universe does its work, but then you also have to do your work, your job.
We do. And we're showing up, and I want to talk offline too. So thank you for your time. Thank for doing what you do for organizations, for women, for people, just helping them and supporting them on their own journey and helping them see their whole potential, because that's what we're here. That's their purpose, right?
100%. Empowering other women, empowering people in general. And I feel like we both do it in our own niches, and that's why we connected so well. So first off, thank you so much for the opportunity to even speak a little bit about my passion and for just having this conversation, and for future, whatever the future might bring. I'm super excited for that. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for listening to the Leader You podcast. If you found this helpful, please share it. Please like it and subscribe. This is a message that would probably benefit someone. If you liked it, then there's a good chance that someone else will like it. So thank you for listening. Did you know that Black River offers a learning management system with over 10,000 development topics? The Leader You learning management system is an affordable option that empowers organizations to manage and curate in-house learning development opportunities. The built-in calendar and scheduling system can be used to coordinate compliance courses such as HR Respectful Workplace and IT Cybersecurity, or lunch and learns on topics such as motivation, self-leadership, and leading more effective meetings. At Black River, we are dedicated to providing a learning solution that focuses on engaging employees in their own self and team development. Our clients use the Leader U learning management system to remove barriers through accessible and self-paced micro-learning content, save time with the centralized and automated training assignments, promote more meaningful team discussions, issue certificates of completion and track development efforts, and enhance and simplify onboarding efforts. Contact us for more information on our learning management system at info@blackriverpm.com.